This is an emergency room, the place we come when we face the worst kind of physical trauma. We rely on it to be staffed and run by top professionals and funded to meet community needs. Where would we go without an emergency room? This too is an emergency room, a runaway shelter helping children and families in need of services. Also known as a Sins Fins program, this is the place where distraught families come, where runaway and throwaway children come when they face the worst kinds of personal trauma. These shelters operate 24 hours a day, every day, across Florida. More than 20,000 children and their families were helped by Sins Fins programs last year alone. These aren't numbers, they are people. People like Christy.
I dropped out of high school when I was 15 years old, and I ran away a total of probably at least a dozen times, if not more. I lived with friends, I stayed in cars, I slept outside, I did a lot of drugs, I drank a lot of alcohol, I stole a lot of things, vandalized, hurt anybody that got in my way of whatever it was that I wanted to do.
Even as she was caught up in this dangerous spiral, Christy was aware that things could become much worse.
I found while I was a runaway that usually the people that are attracted to runaway kids are predators, people that do and think horrible things about kids, and the only other option is to get in with a group of kids and eventually end up in trouble, either in a detention center or jail.
Fortunately for Christy and tens of thousands of other Florida children and families each year, help is at hand. School resource officers, often the ones who first spot bad situations getting worse, frequently turn to Sins Fins programs.
When I know they're having difficulty at home with their families, and in many cases they express, Officer Norman, I don't really want to go home. So I'm faced with the choice of what to do with that child. So I know that I can always rely on the Youth Crisis Center as being a safe place.
A safe place and a place to work on solving the problems.
A child and a family, or at least from my experience, that make it to the level of penetrating the Sins Fins process are not going to fix themselves. If they could have fixed themselves, they wouldn't be there.
The center provided myself and my family with free counseling and a safe place to stay. Whenever we needed them 24 hours a day, we could call. We worked through a lot of the issues that we had and were able to learn to change our behaviors and become a more loving family environment.
Virtually every family and child that has finished the Sins Fins process, I believe, has been successful, and I rarely ever see those kids or families back in my courtroom, either as a delinquent or as a dependent.
The Youth Crisis Center definitely made me feel like they cared and that I wasn't a burden. I was the reason that they were there. They were there to try to help us, and they did.
Beyond saving families, the Sins Fins programs also save taxpayers many millions of dollars.
This is the only place in this town that can help children and families that are in need that don't necessarily have a lot of money to go spend on treatment or rehab centers.
Without the Sins Fins services, I mean, obviously what's going to happen is these kids are going to end up in the delinquency or dependency court. They'll just be a lot farther gone, a lot deeper in the system, and it'll be a lot more costly.
These programs are vitally important, not only to the health and well-being of children, but to the quality of life in their respective communities.
See you in the morning, girls. Good night, April. Good night, Stephen.
How can we turn our backs on this responsibility and such an effective solution?